All right, so welcome back. This is going to be part 2. We're going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide two decimals. So we're going to be computing numbers 1 to 4. First one here is 3.3 times 3.5. So whenever I have a decimal and I'm being asked to multiply, I'm just going to ignore the decimals for now. Okay, so I'm going to write 33 times 35. All right, and we're going to multiply just like what we did before. Okay, so here we have 5 times 3, that's 15. So we'll carry the 1. Then we have 5 times 3, which is also 15. But since we carry the 1, it's going to be 15 plus 1. So that's 16. So now what we're going to do is move on to this 3, which is part of the tens place. So whenever I move on to a different number, I need to write a 0. And plus, we don't need this 1 anymore, okay? Because we're dealing with a new number. So we're going to multiply, right? So 3 times 3 is 9. And 3 times 3 is also 9. So now we're going to add these numbers, and we're going to add straight down, okay? So 5 plus 0 is 5. 6 plus 9, that's 15. We're going to carry the 1. So we have 1 plus 1, which is 2, plus 9, that's 11. Okay? So we should have 1,155. But don't forget, we have these decimals. So we need to apply the decimal in our answer. And how we're going to do that is by counting the number of decimal places. So notice that we have one number after this decimal and one number after that decimal, right? So since there's one number after the decimal, that's 1, and there's another number after the decimal, that's another 1. So we have 1 plus 1, that's 2. So what we need to do is draw a little decimal point here, and we're going to move that decimal to the left 2 times, right? Because of that 1 plus 1 that we did. So 1 and 2. The answer is 11.55. All right. Number 2, we have 2.4 plus 1.8. Okay, so whenever we add or subtract decimals, we need to make sure that the decimals are lined up together, which they are. And then we're going to go ahead and add straight down. So we have 4 plus 8. Okay, so 4 plus 8 is 12. And I'm going to carry the 1. And then we have 1 plus 2 plus 1, that's 4. And now we're just going to shoot the decimal straight down like that. So the answer is 4.2. Number 3, we have 8.78 times 4.9. What I always like to do is write the number with the most number of digits up top. So we have 8.78. I'm going to write 878 because remember, we like to worry about the decimal, right after we compute. Okay, so 878 times the number with the least number of digits. So 4.9, right? So instead of saying 4.9, we're going to say 49. All right. So now we have 878 times 49. So 9 times 8, that is 72. And then we have 9 times 7, that's 63, plus 7, that's 70. So I'll write a 0 here, carry the 7, then 9 times 8, which is 72, plus 7, that's 79. All right, now we're going to move on to a different number, right? I'm going to move on to this 4. But before I do that, let me write a 0 here, because whenever we move on to a different number, we have to write a 0. And these numbers, those 7s, we don't even need anymore. So we're crossing them out so that we're not confusing ourselves, okay? So 4 times 8, that's 32. So I'll write a 2 here, and then I'm going to carry the 3. Now we're going to do 4 times 7, which is 28, plus 3, that's 31. So 1, carry the 3. Then we do 4 times 8, which is 8, 16, 24, 32, right? Plus 3, that's 35. All right, so now we're going to add straight down. 2 plus 0 is 2. 0 plus 2 is 2. 9 plus 1 is 10. Then we carry the 1, so it's 1 plus 7 plus 5. That's 13. So we're going to carry the 1, so 1 plus 3 is 4. All right? We notice there are 2 numbers after the decimal, right? So we're going to write 2, and there's 1 number after the decimal. So we're going to write 1. So we're going to add the total number of decimal places. So 2 plus 1 is 3. That is how many times I need to move the decimal to the left. Okay, so I'll write a little point here and then move the decimal 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. So our answer is 43.022. All right, let's take a look at number 3, 23.8 divided by 7. So I'll write 7, division sign, then 23.8. Now, notice that there's a decimal point here, so I need to draw a decimal point here that's all lined up with that decimal. Now, let's go ahead and figure out how many times does 7 go into 23.8. But I like to work with smaller numbers, so I'm going to cover up this 8 and say, okay, how many times does 7 go into 23? Well, 7, 14, 21, right? 7 goes into 23 3 times. So I'll write a 3 to the left of the decimal point and say 7 times 3 is 21. But don't forget, we're subtracting, okay? So 23 minus 21 is 2. We're going to drop down the 8. And then we ask ourselves, how many times does 7 go into 28? Well, 7, 14, 21, 28. 7 goes into 28 4 times, okay? So 7 times 4 is 28. So it's going to be minus 28, and that's just going to be 0. So the answer is 3.4. Number 4, we have 2.4 minus 1.6. So whenever we're adding or subtracting numbers with decimals, we need to make sure that they are all lined up in terms of where the decimals are, right? So the decimals are lined up here, so we're good to go. Okay, so it's 2.4 minus 1.6. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to do 4 minus 6, right? So we're going to do 4 minus 6. But notice that the number up top is less than the number down below. Whenever we have a number up top that is less than the number down below, we have to do something called borrowing, right? So we can make this 4 into a 14 if we take 1 away from the number to the left of it, right? So this 2 is now going to become a 1, okay? So we're just subtracting by 1, right? So if you're borrowing from a 3, right, that becomes a 2. If you borrow from a 5, that becomes a 4. But in this case, we're borrowing from the 2, so we're just going to make that into a 1 now, okay? So we have 14 minus 6, that's 8. And now we have 1 minus 1, which is 0. And then we're going to shoot the decimal straight down, so our answer is 0.8.